Best bites forever.
Hi everyone, I'm Chef Alicia. Welcome to my channel, Best Bites Forever. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm super excited about today's video because today I am cooking with another YouTube channel. We're collaborating. Today I'm cooking with Julie Steindale. That's the name of the channel, is Cooking with Julie Steindale. She has some really great recipes over there. Not only does she make things that you want to eat like every day, like paninis and ziti and egg rolls and cheesecake and all these delicious things like that, but she also makes all of these snacks that you would never think that you could make by yourself at home. She makes like Takis and Doritos and Cheez-Its and fruit roll-ups and all of those kind of things that you normally get out of a box from the store. Now you can make them at home. All you have to do is go over to Cooking with Julie Steindale and she will show you how. And we are collaborating. We are both making a yummy dessert for you. So today I am making a pumpkin chocolate layered cake. And Julie got a little craving for some brownies, so she decided to make a brownie video, and I know they are going to be amazing. So make sure you go over there and check out that recipe. I'm going to leave a link. I think it pops up here for the cards, and I'm also going to leave one down below. And enjoy the video, everyone.
I'm starting off here with 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and to that I'm adding 1 cup of sugar along with 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. I'm also adding in 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to mix those dry ingredients together. And then I'm going to move over here to my wet ingredients. So I have 1/2 of a cup of buttermilk, and I'm adding in 1/4 cup of oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 egg. I'm going to mix that together really well. And then I'm going to add it into my dry ingredients. Then I'm going to use my hand mixer and mix it for 2 minutes on medium speed. Once I have my ingredients well combined, I'm going to take a second to scrape the bowl with my rubber spatula. I'm doing the sides as well as the bottom. And then I'm going to add in 1 cup of boiling water. Notice I'm holding this with a hot pad here so I don't burn myself, and I'm also running my mixer while I add the boiling water in. I know this is unusual for a chocolate cake recipe, but my grandmother taught me to do this a long time ago, and believe me, this makes the most moist chocolate cake. It is so good. Once I get that well combined, I'm going to add it into my prepared pan. In this case, I used butter and flour, but that was only because I was out of parchment paper, and you really do need to line this pan with parchment paper. So really you should be using parchment paper and cooking spray or butter. That bakes at 350 for 30 minutes. Here in this bowl I have 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of AP flour, and I'm adding in 2 teaspoons of pumpkin spice, along with 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. In a separate bowl, I'm combining 6 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 cup of sugar, and 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm going to cream those together kind of like I'm making cookies. Of course, I need to stop and scrape my bowl just to make sure that I don't have any bits of butter down on the bottom, and then I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla along with 2 eggs. I'm going to mix this together until it's thoroughly combined. And then once again scrape my bowl. Here I have 1 cup of pumpkin puree, and I'm adding 2 tablespoons of molasses, and a little trick for you is if you spray your spoon with cooking spray, the molasses won't stick to it, it'll just come right off of it. As you can see, I have a nice clean spoon here already. I'm going to stir this together until it's mixed up really well. And then set it over to the side and go back over here to my dry ingredients. I'm adding in about a half of the pumpkin puree into my dry ingredients, and then I'm going to use my hand mixer to mix that together. And I put that over to the side, and here I have my wet ingredients, and I'm adding half of my dry into my wet. Once I get that mixed in, I'm going to add in the rest of my pumpkin puree and molasses combination. And then the rest of my dry mixture. When all of these ingredients are combined, this batter is done and ready to go into the pan. I do want to scrape the sides and bottom of my bowl one more time to make sure that I have everything mixed in. Again, this pan is going to need to have parchment paper down at the bottom. You should be using either butter or cooking spray along with parchment paper. Both of these cakes will stick for sure if you don't put parchment paper down in the bottom, and you will see that in just a minute when I'm struggling with my chocolate cake. This is going to go into the oven at 350 for 25 to 30 minutes. So here's my chocolate cake. It is beautiful and done, and the toothpick has just the tiniest little bit of chocolate on it, but that's fine. I don't want to risk overcooking it. I'm going to cool both of these cakes completely and then wrap them and let them set overnight. Here I have 12 ounces of cream cheese and 1.5 sticks of butter. I'm going to cream these two together until I get them combined. And then I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to mix that together, and you may have noticed that I'm using a different mixer. My other mixer died on me partway through the other making the cake, and my husband is awesome and ran to the store and got me a new mixer, which I love, love, love. So anyway, back to the cream cheese frosting. I'm adding in a total of 1.5 pounds of powdered sugar into it. And this is what it's going to look like when it's all finished. Here is my lovely chocolate cake. This did sit overnight. It was completely cool before I wrapped it up with plastic wrap. And obviously I just let it sit in the pan overnight, and that's just fine. I'm going to cut around the edges with my plastic knife, and then I'm going to remove the cake. And I know I've already said this, but the bottom of the pan should have been lined with parchment paper. Mine wasn't, so now I get to fight my cake to get it out, and it also pulled off the bottom of my cake, which I'm not super happy about, and it tore it a little bit. But the fact is, sometimes that happens in the kitchen, so we're going to work with what we have. I'm going to cut both cake layers in half. The easiest way for me to do that is just to cut from the side halfway up and then turn it. Do the same thing 4 times until you make it all the way around, and then just cut through the center. So here's my chocolate cake. I'm going to flip it upside down onto the cake round that I'll be serving it on. And I do want to go ahead and put down some paper towels, and again, this is somewhere I would be using parchment paper normally, but I'm going to use paper towels, and that's just going to kind of keep it neater. I'm using a cardboard cake round to take the layers apart and move the piece of chocolate cake over. Now I'm ready to start adding in some of my cream cheese frosting. I'm going to add a very thick layer in between each of my layers so that it almost looks like another layer of cake. A pumpkin layer goes on top of the chocolate, and this is only half of one of the pumpkin layers. Next, I'm putting the chocolate on top along with some cream cheese. And then the top is going to be my pumpkin layer. This is the top of the cake that you're looking at right now, and I'm going to put a thick layer of the cream cheese frosting on there. And then I decided to do a very thin layer of frosting on the sides. I'm going for that nude cake thing that's kind of in style right now, where you can see the layers through the frosting. So just a very, very light layer of frosting on the sides, but a nice thick layer on top. This is going to go into the refrigerator so that the frosting can solidify. Here I have 4 ounces of heavy cream. And I'm going to mix in 4 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. I have my cream on medium heat, and I just have a little bit of bubbles on the side before I added in my chocolate. That's called scalding your milk, and that gives you the perfect temperature to add in your chocolate and melt it without harming the chocolate. I'm going to stir this constantly. It takes about 40 seconds for it to form a beautiful chocolate sauce. This is a very basic recipe called Ganache. It makes a really great topping for cakes, cupcakes, for dipping, all kinds of different uses for this. So here is my beautiful ganache, and I want to use this while it's warm. I pulled the cake out of the refrigerator. It has thoroughly chilled, so the cream cheese frosting is very cold right now, and I'm spreading my warm ganache right over it. I want the ganache to drip over the sides and just kind of run down. And this is what it's going to look like when it's all finished. I did put it back in the fridge to let the ganache harden up also, and it's ready to serve.
Hi again, everyone. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please make sure that you go check out Cooking with Julie Steindl and go enjoy some delicious, amazing brownies that she has waiting over there for you. Thank you again so much for watching, and happy cooking, everyone.
BestBitesForever.com